guys, it's Mike here with Vant Trading with your trade of the day video. Today's trade is a trade that I actually took. It was a short on BABA, and it was actually it didn't give a lot of alpha in this trade, but it was one of the better trades, had a couple good lessons in there compared to some of the trades that we had in our group. Every time we do this trade of the day video, pretty much what we do at the end of the day at 4:30 is meet with our trade mentees, and we go over their trades, how they traded them. We go through my trades, how I traded them, and then we pick one trade of the day that we feel gives the best lesson for you to kind of look at. So here's my review of BABA. So what I want to do is walk through, I think, one of the better trades that I think that I had today. And it wasn't a great trade from a profit and loss standpoint, but I think it was a good trade because it really helps you learn a couple lessons in this trade. And I think it's a good trade to look at. So what I want to do, first off, BABA obviously gapping up pre-market on the tenant earnings, and you had some other positive or potential positive Chinese headlines, and BABA was gapping up. So but again, it had nothing to do with really BABA. And if you look here, what I want to kind of hone in here is the monthly chart, because I want to show you how some of these upper time frame levels are really important when you're trading, and how they kind of take precedence. So you can kind of see this is the weekly chart, and BABA making a nice little low and bounce off of really the 57, 55 area down here. And, last 4 days kind of been in a little upswing. But if you really want to look at, we always talk about how support then now, this was support, this area right in here back in April, back in May, ran into resistance, ran into the 50 on the weekly chart, and then kind of fell back down to support. And you can see it took about 3 or 4 days before it finally broke through that support. And now obviously on the way back up, you're going to expect that to be resistance. So this was a key area for me on the weekly chart, 78.47. Definitely something to look at. If you look at the daily chart, you can see in here, we were gapping above the 50. So you guys know I love my gap above levels and go, right? So you had a nice little gap above the 50 here, and kind of sitting in open air, so it's going to be an interesting day. You also had a daily level right here, and you had the 50 kind of sitting in here. And on the daily level, you had, if you kind of zoom in here on the daily level, you can see, touch, 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 touch. So this was an important level on the daily level before we eventually wound up breaking down. Now, coming into this trade, like I said, BABA was a gap up, and you can see pre-market in here. And let me expand this out a little bit. Can you guys see that? Chris?
Yes.
Simon, can you guys see that?
Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah. No worries. So you can see nice little gap up pre-market. And I always say, the first hump is really the most important hump right up in here. And so you had a nice, you had a little piercing here, maybe a little bit higher, but this area right here was a good area of pre-market resistance. So bull flagging it up, but again, having to worry about certain levels and stuff like that, that was what was key. So, I was looking to actually trade. I put it in Discord. I was looking to trade. Let's zoom in here. And I was looking to trade, BABA to the long side possibly today, but it kind of fell into my lap on the short side. And I made this note into Discord. Who can tell me what they're seeing in this first 10 minutes of action in here with BABA? I mean, we see this a lot. So can anybody tell me what you're kind of noticing in this area here?
I mean, I noticed the upper wicks, like liquidity grabs type deal.
Yes, yes, that's exactly it. I mean, so yeah, I mean, you got this level, this pre-market high, And which is every time, and again, this is the 2-minute chart, right? So every time Baba would kind of try to break out in here, and I'm going to kind of zoom in a little bit better so we can see this action. So every time Baba would try to break out, they'd wick it and they'd come right back down. They'd break out, wick it, come right back down. And at the same time, really had the VWAP kind of rolling a little bit, and you had these higher lows kind of developing. So I mentioned in Discord, I said, look, be careful, Baba, on the long side, because you could see these wicks. There was which basically was an indication that there was a hidden seller there that was basically just, knocking down these shares every time they got above this pre-market high. So, again, we've seen this play out over and over and over again in this market. And so what do retail traders typically do? They typically come in, they want to buy a breakout. They're so inclined, they're all so in tune to buy breakouts. And, being a market maker, I understand that. And see, that's what you got to do. You got to think like a market maker and think like, okay, well, how am I going to pick their pockets, right? Because, especially in this market, buying a breakout, just, it's fool's errand. And it's hard to make money buying breakouts. And you can see why. Because look, you got to break out of the pre-market high, run it right back down, break out of the pre-market high, break out. So, tough action in here, but this was basically my impetus to really go short here. And so I called out, and we took a short right up in here, actually on this bar here. Our short entry was like, hold on, it was 79.37. So, we got short right in here, 79.37. Just as VWAP's curling over, just as we're getting these lower highs. So, let me ask you guys a question. I always like if there's a good area to trade against. Well, what's my stop loss here if I'm entering into this trade? Anybody want to, Simon, where would you place a stop in this trade here?
I'd give it the 22 or right below 22. Couple bit.
Well, no, this is
going short.
I'm going short.
Going
Simon.
short. Okay.
Yeah, I'm short. So where would you be placing your stop on this short here?
Yeah, I would be conservative and I would put it 15-minute high, stake out high a day. Confirm that buyers came back in.
Okay. Yeah. No,
or
definitely.
Took out that seller.
That's not bad. That's not bad. What about you, Chris?
I would have taken the pre-market high. Real conservative. Yeah.
Okay. So what I'll say about that is your stop loss probably too conservative. Simon's probably wider than it needed to be. Okay. And the reason is, if what I'm looking in here, and the reason I took this trade, part of it was the declining tops, right? But if you kind of look in here, you got a green top and pushed in by really two red tops. So for me to take this trade, I kind of went right in the middle. It was right here at 79.78. Okay. Gotcha. I don't want to put it at pre-market because look, it could still technically hold this trade thesis and whip me up one more time.
Right.
Okay. So I don't want it that tight, but you know what? I got in at 37 and I got stop losses around 77. That's 40 cents on the $79 trade.
Yeah.
I mean, very, very, a really good stop loss. And so basically I paid, I'm basically willing to pay 40 cents to see, okay, is this trade going to pan out? And then of course, the next 2-minute bar, what happens? It starts the breakdown all the way down. Now, I took some profits into here. Ultimately, where I was looking at the breakdown was this 50 moving average on the daily chart. And you can see where I have this, and I have this daily level that I pointed out before sitting here. So I had really 3 layers of to my trade as far as what I was mapping out. And Simon, you're always asking about, well, how do we set targets, stuff like that? For me, this trade pretty decent because, I have the weekly level, which I pointed out. I have this daily level, and then I got this 50 moving average. And so 2 of the levels played out really well. Okay, so I took some profit right here at 78.48 right in here. So, pretty much almost a buck into that trade. And then I was able to hold into this. I mean, look at the 22. Is there any reason really to get whipped out here, Chris? No, no reason to get whipped out. You know, nice little big candle down. And then once I saw right in here, you know, I did take some, I took, you know, a quarter off, and then the rest I took off up in here. And that was my trade. And it was a great trade. Was it a lot of alpha? No, it wasn't a lot of alpha. I mean, again, 79.37. Ultimate didn't get down to the 50 EMA, but you know, I got about $1.50 on the trade. And it was pretty easy and pretty quick trade. So for today, I mean, and the reason I wanted to kind of show you guys this trade was mainly because, you know, looking at this action and how you always got to have a mindset of what the professionals are doing in here. And this was just a great setup. I wanted to show you guys that, and it just kind of worked out really well. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video, and look for more coming over the next coming days. Again, we'll be doing these Monday through Thursday. Safe trading.